Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai 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 Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai 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 Govind, Jai Jai Gopal, Jai Jai Gopal. Govind, Jai Jai Gopal, Jai Jai Govind, Jai Jai Gopal, Jai Jai Govind, Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai
Govinda Jai Jai Gopal
Govinda Jai Gopal Jai 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 Govinda Gopal Jai Jai
Govinda Gopal Jai Jai
Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Radha Raman Jai Jai Radha Raman Hari Govind Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Pal Jai Jai
Gopal
Jai Pal Jai Jai
Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai
Jai Jai
Gopal Jai
Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai
Gopal Jai
Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govind Jai Radha Raman Hari Govind Jai Jai Radha Raman Hari Govind Jai Jai
Jai
Jai Govind Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai
Gopal Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai
अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् की वल्लभम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम के अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायण जानकी वल्लभम अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायण जानकी वल्लभम। कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं भगवान आते नहीं, बेरे शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं, बेरे शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभं राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम अच्युतम केशवम कृष्ण दामोदरम राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभं राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् अच्युतं केशवं कृष्ण दामोदरम् राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम् राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। Okay, sure.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hey, Sai, Gora, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora, Hari Bol, Nitai. Hey, Sai, Gora, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Hari Bol. हरि नाम संकीर्तन की
Shamchandra, there you are. I wondered where you were. Should I begin? Where's the mic? Huh? Mataji wanted the mic. Yes, no, or maybe.
Let's wait for Mataji. I think she wanted to get something.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, it's here, Mataji. Mataji, I have the mala. Mataji. Mataji, give it. Mataji, waiting for you. She gave me the mala.
Somebody disappeared. Our MC disappeared. Let's go.
Welcome to Shri Radha Madhav Hari Dham. On behalf of our presiding deities, Shri Radha Madhav Hari, we invite you to a very special weekend, Japa retreat with His Holiness Ramapad Swami, and we also have Shama Sundar Prabhu here as well. And Hare Krishna. And so today's introduction is going to be mysteries of sound. And the Japa retreat itself is sacred sounds. And I think most of you know Maharaj, but I'd just like to give a short introduction. Maharaj is a disciple of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaj joined the ISKCON Society, ISKCON, in 1971 is when he got initiated by Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaj later got sannyas initiation, and he has been initiating disciples since then. And also, Maharaj travels in the US and out of country, different countries like China, India, and other countries, Singapore. And Maharaj also visits a lot of universities in the States, where we had, for example, a program yesterday at ASU also. So Maharaj travels a lot and preaches about Krishna consciousness, even to corporate offices also. So today we are going to start with, as I said, introduction to the retreat, and mysteries of the sound. And I'd also like to thank Shyam Sundar Prabhu for coming. As you all know, Shyam Sundar Prabhu was a temple president for Houston for many years. And recently he has been inspiring and encouraging a lot of devotees through the states and beyond with his chanting, and he accommodates his schedule people because the time differences are so great. So Prabhu gets up at 1 o'clock in the morning and starts his classes around 2 o'clock in the morning. And he's also going to be conducting some classes for us. So please join us then. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
I have a quick question. How many, raise your hand if this is the first time you've taken part in a Japa retreat? First time. Okay. I hope you have a wonderful time. My experience in conducting events like this over a number of years is the benefit is dramatic, and the for many persons it stays. For some persons it's a pickup and then it fades, but for many persons it's you just notch up several notches in your commitment and your experience in chanting. So I hope for the best. This is meant as an introductory message about sound in general. Of course, the theme of the retreat is sacred sound. So towards the end, we'll speak about spiritual sound and mantras, etc. But for starters, it's a sound in general. Sound is a mysterious thing. You'll see as we go along. I like to introduce this topic from the person that inspired me in this topic. Bhanu Swami is also a Prabhupada disciple. He wasn't born in India. He was born in Japan, as far as I know. And one of the earliest devotees in Japan, because he just got a book and became enlivened. And since then, he learned Sanskrit and he's translated something like 35 books from Sanskrit into English. Very deep and profound work. And so one time I saw him make this presentation. He was in the Chaupati temple. I was inspired. I asked him, he's very liberal. I asked him, could you send me the PowerPoint? And within 12 hours, I had the PowerPoint. I've made about 75% modification, but the structure is his. The cover slide is his. And we'll go quickly into the topic. For starters, what is sound? Why do some sounds affect our being much more deeply than others? And what's special about the Hare Krishna mantra? There is something special about the Hare Krishna mantra. Now, most of you have been around for a while. There may be some people that are relatively new. On the back is a Prabhupada's Vyasa-san. So here's a little recording, a little transcription of a class he gave some time ago in New Vrindavan. The beginning of this material world is from sound vibration. I think the scientists also agree, the material scientists, that from sound everything emanates. And it's true. The Vedic conception certainly is true. The science conception is also it's true. Here's a transcription from a lecture given on the first verse of chapter 2 Bhagavatam, given many years ago in New Vrindavan. This is it's on first canto chapter 2, but it's Sankhya. So many of you know what Sankhya is. Some of you may not know what Sankhya is. Sankhya is the first part of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, the first part of chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita is Sankhya. It's matter and spirit, and we belong to the category of spirit. And there's subdivisions of matter. That's Sankhya, matter and spirit, the analysis of both. Sound is the symptom of the sky. By sound, we can understand that there is sky, ether. Then, by sound vibration, there is circulation of air. You have got practical experience when there's very loud sound vibrations. Sometimes there's a very strong wind also. So, by sound vibration, the wind is started. And by strong wind, electricity is produced, like wind clashes with wind. Electricity is produced. From electricity, water is produced, perspiration, and from water, earth is produced. So from subtle to gross. And it starts with sound that's within ether. So sound is the original element of creation. In Sanskrit language, it is called Shabda. Brahman. Shabda means sound. Brahman means the absolute truth. Or absolute truth is first appears, absolute truth becomes knowable by sound. So it's the origin, and it's knowable through the medium of spiritual sound. The origin is knowable through the medium of spiritual sound. It originates everything, and you can connect with the origin of everything through sound. Shabda Brahman. He quotes a verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, Shabda K. If we want to see God, let us first of all hear the sound vibration, because that is the beginning. Now, all of those who registered should have received by now a little document. If you didn't receive one, maybe you didn't register. Who they should see you, or raise your hand. If you didn't get one, see him and you'll see that you get one. And there's three of them for this particular presentation. There's a PDF or document that explains from scripture that Om is primordial before creation, and there's a connection between creation and the sound Om. We're going to touch on the topic further as we go along. So our first section is what modern science has to say about sound in general, and some data about sound in general. So there's a field that studies sound, a scientific field that studies sound, and there's a journal called The Power of Sound, and the idea of what sound is, there's different ideas of what sound is, but the common idea is it's a vibration. So let's do this. Everybody knows about molecules and atoms because everyone goes to school. You know what molecules and atoms are, right? You haven't learned yet? Okay, you didn't go into it too much. Okay, so atoms make up molecules. And you know, within the atom, there's electrons and there's protons and there's neutrons and there's stuff moving around. You don't know that yet? Well, you do. Okay. So when there's movement, vibration makes sound. So on the atomic level, subatomic level, molecular level, different groups of atoms get together, make molecules, and they move. So molecules move. Parts of molecules move, and that movement makes a vibration, and that vibration makes a sound. So you put a whole bunch of molecules together, you get stuff. So whether it's parts of our body or rocks, just matter, there's things that are in vibration on a small level, a macro level, and in between, and that makes sound. So the common idea of sound then is that there's a sound. There's a vibration, and the vibration vibrates air, and the vibration of air comes and hits your eardrum. And when it hits your eardrum, the eardrum vibrates. And when the eardrum vibrates, then there's a nervous system that sends a signal to the brain that says there's a sound. The mind is the switchboard where the sounds enter into, and then the intelligence tries to assess what was that sound. That's a common idea. And then there's other ideas that go along with that. Here's a little chart showing that not only, clapping your hands or a child making a noise or something, but on a basic level, all parts of the body, they also vibrate, and there's a certain frequency range that different parts of the body, when they're functioning properly, they vibrate within a certain range. So you see on the left, I hope you can see it okay. There's the brain, there's the head, spinal column, etc., heart, lungs. So there's a range that when things are working normally, it's good. Supposing it's too high or too low, not good. You can have a problem in that part of the body. I'll give a little example, personal example. I only take one medication, and it's a thyroid. I have hypothyroid condition, and that's pretty important because thyroid gland controls all the other glands. And if it's not functioning, you feel tired. And if it's overworking, you burn out. So I have a hypothyroid condition. And so there's a system, it's called, one system is called the Healy. Check it out. If you wonder what that strap is around my neck, it's a Healy. And there's a program that connects with my phone. And when I activate the Healy, it's not activated right now, don't worry. I can choose from a menu of programs, and one that I run regularly is thyroid. Now, I haven't stopped taking the thyroid medication, but I'm sure it's not hurting because it helps bring this thing more in harmony, or some other parts of the body or the mind. Anyway, sound vibration, because it's just a electromagnetic frequency, but it makes a sound, and it affects the body and the mind, the gross and subtle body. This is a little statement that says even minerals, stones, plants, trees, flowers, you name it, is vibration, and there's a frequency. Now, those frequencies we may not be able to hear. The reason we can't hear them is not just volume, but another reason is there's a range that we're able to hear according to the way science looks at it. You take a look at the lower left, that circle that has an orange color. There's a Swiss researcher that researched electromagnetic waves and found there's a certain frequency for different electromagnetic waves. And so that the whole system was named after him, Dr. Hertz. So frequencies like, let's say, brain frequencies, there's frequencies of the brain when you're asleep. We don't hear the brain because it's below the audible range. So the study shows that between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz, of course, there has to be sufficient volume, but that frequency range is what the human range can hear. Below what we can't hear, elephants can hear, and bats can hear. No, excuse me. Moles can hear. And then dogs can hear pretty much our range, but they can hear higher frequency vibrations. And way up there are bats and dolphins. I don't know what's special about bats and dolphins, but somehow they can hear a range of sounds that we can't hear. And just random and chaotic a bunch of sound. This is just very simple. It's noise, but there's lots of sounds that are going on all the time we cannot hear. I mean, we're sitting in a room. If you have your receiver on, I hope you don't have your receiver on with your phone. It might ring, but passing through the room right now, there's all kinds of vibrations, and the scientists have obviously been very interested in making money by creating technology that you can send a signal and receive a signal that you can't hear unless you have a receiver. So according to this modern science, I'm going to go through some dates. From 2005, they were announcing that sound has helped shaped matter, specifically has helped shape the universe. And they have their ideas. We're going to touch on this again later. Here's something that's recorded, and I hope that the sound system works. Can I have the microphone? Okay, just hold it near the. You see what the picture is? The picture is a plant, and purposefully they dehydrated the plant, didn't give the plant water, and then they hooked up microphones near the plant to see if the plant gave off a vibration indicating I'm thirsty or something like that. A vibration. So let's see if it works. Oh, or sometimes they cut a part of the plant. It would make this sound like ouch or I'm thirsty or in plant language. But it's just a vibration. It's below the audible range, but sensitive instruments can pick it up. 2014, scientists in Chalmers University in Sweden, they claim that they could record, I don't have a recording, of the movements of atoms. And within atoms, and that movement is a vibration, and the vibration makes a sound. In NASA, they have recordings of, in an audible range outside of the human range, they have made recordings of what they say is a little different. It's plasma in the universe flashing with the electromagnetic field of the Earth planet. Now, we can't hear it normally because it's beyond our audible range. And of course, it's amplified and stuff. So this is NASA's findings. There's more. There's nice explanatory texts. They say it's more complex than computer algorithms. And I don't know too much about computer algorithms, but some of you probably do. You computer science folks. It's more sophisticated and more complex. Now, those frequencies that we're normally not able to hear, that some by technology they can pick up and detect, they find that some things are beneficial, some things are harmful. No surprise. And they're trying to use the beneficial ones to help in the field of medicine. You see in light letters up there, maybe you can't see it. Deepak Chopra is a popular person who speaks a lot about this. But it's a healing modality through sound where physical parts of the body or emotional issues or other difficult problems within the body can be benefited, the problems diminish and the benefits come simply through sound healing. So it's become a big thing. And it works. I mean, not for everybody, it's not always the same, but I'll show you in a moment. Now, every sound, let's say in the musical scale, has a frequency. I'm going to share something and make reference to it several times in the course of this presentation. Here's a table showing how many hertz, that's the frequency number, for each of the notes of the musical scale. So long time ago, I was a little boy, maybe your age, maybe a little younger. And I had three sisters and an older brother. So two of my three sisters, they liked piano. So my parents got them a nice piano, an older style, not the digital kind. So it had piano strings and a keyboard and the whole thing. So it became a practice every 2 years or so. A piano tuner would come to the home, and I was a curious little boy, so I wanted to know how does it work. So he came in, entered the house, and it looked like he was carrying a guitar case, but it wasn't a guitar case. It was his instruments for tuning the piano. So he opened it up. I was like checking it out, and inside were a whole series of tuning forks. You know what a tuning fork is? No idea. It's kind of a U shape and it has a handle. It's kind of long, two prongs go up. And it's a certain kind of metal that when you hit it with a rubber mallet, it'll vibrate at a certain frequency. And then he held, let's say, the C tuning fork by the middle C, by the middle C piano string. He took the back open. And when he struck the C tuning fork and he didn't touch the piano string, he just held it near. The one on this side didn't vibrate. The one on that side didn't vibrate, just the C, because it's the same frequency. It's important. You'll hear this like 6 times in the course of this presentation. Because the C piano string has a capacity to vibrate at that frequency. So the tuning fork just assisted the piano without then hitting the key and with the mallet that goes in the piano system, the tuning fork. And then when you maybe have seen it, but when it's in tune, then harmonically going down the length of the piano string, it's all very nicely lined up. If it's too loose or too tight, it'll be off. And then he'll know just by looking at the string whether to tighten it, loosen it, and hits the thing again, the tuning fork again, puts it near the string. And when it's all in tune, then he goes to the next tuning fork, next tuning fork, next tuning fork. The whole piano is tuned. That's the system. And it works because there's a frequency. In a short while, we're going to see there's not only a frequency for every note of the musical scale, but there's a two-dimensional form of sound for each musical note in the musical scale. I'll say it again. Sound has form. Material sound has form. Material sound has a frequency, and that frequency has form. We'll see shortly. Some of you know about yoga a little bit, and those of you who know about yoga a little bit know that there's 7 chakras in the body along the line of the spine. They are, at the very top is the crown frequency. Then there's the throat chakra and the third eye chakra and etc., etc. There are different chakras in the body. And you see on the right side, Solfeggio, I think that's an Italian name. There's a gentleman, Italian gentleman, that knows how to help bring the chakras into proper balance by use of music or sound. I don't know how he does it, but I met somebody who has been to Mysore. Anybody here from Mysore or near Mysore, that part of India? In Mysore, there's a yogi. I met somebody that went to his place. He's a very renowned fellow. According to him, he's a multi-billionaire because he has perfected the art of healing chakras through sound. I don't know how he does it, but he knows the science very well. And things that can't be healed by other methods are healed by this method. So therefore, he's very popular and he's very wealthy, and it works. Sound healing chakras. So, in other words, when there's something out of balance chakra wise, then there's pain or some debility in that part of the body. Check the frequency so it's back into a proper balance, and the wellness comes. There are different systems of healing, but that's one. In this chart, you see four, there's more than four, but four brain wave frequencies. The brain waves vibrate. The one at the top is deep sleep. And that's what brain waves look like when you're snoring or deep sleep. At the very bottom is when you're doing sports or something like that. You're like hyperactive, very intense. It's called beta waves. And just above that on the chart is alpha waves. Alpha waves is what the frequency, the distribution of brain waves looks like when you're in a deeply meditative state, very concentrated, very calm, very serene meditative state. And then above that is light sleep. So there's vibration coming from brain or brain frequencies. And of course, those connect to our nervous system. And then let's take the one at the bottom. We'll take the one at the bottom when it's like you're hyper or like go. You're in a really active state. There's brain waves, and that affects the neurological system, that affects the organs, that affects everything. The dilation of the pupils of your eyes and everything. There's vibration frequency going on. This is a picture of Pete Seeger. Maybe some of you have heard his name. He's an advocate of healing, both subtle, meaning emotional and mental and stress kinds of disorders, and physical disorders like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, epilepsy, and so forth. And of course, there's like very fancy equipment in the back that's to do scans of parts of one's body, etc., etc. It's just another example of sound can be used if one knows how to use it properly. Sound can be used to heal. Now, several times you're going to see something like what I'm showing you right now that's also recorded. It's a system called cymatics, and the bottom line for this one is sound has form, material sound. So this fellow has three things. He has just a vibrating surface, the table, and some powder just randomly distributed through a strainer. And then he's going to make the table make some sound by rubbing something across the table. And the powder is going to jump around. Of course, it starts random, but in course of time, it makes a geometric pattern. You probably wouldn't expect to see that, but that's what happens. Then two more times, he's going to take another instrument to make another sound, and a geometric, symmetrical pattern will form. So again, the powder starts jumping around, and a very different sound form is established on the table. And then one more time, same thing. And you see on the wall, there's photographs of so many examples. Now remember, the topic here is what material science has to say about the impact of sound on matter, both gross and subtle. That's the overall topic. this system of cymatics can work in different ways. You'll see in a moment that the gentleman that came up with this idea in the 1970s and did extensive research. Cortisol is something that the body produces when there's stress. And classical music or soft, soothing music reduces cortisol level, thus reduces stress. And they have found that when they have to do medical procedures, for example, they need less sedative instead of like anesthesia, just less sedative for the person because when they hear nice music, it's less stressful. They don't need as much, so their stress level, their brain waves indicate it's better. And the opposite is true. Hard rock and electronic music and things like that, it increases cortisol, it increases hyperactivity, and it's like drinking a whole bunch of coffee. It just stimulates the body in an artificial way and it becomes addictive. So that people that hear this kind of music, they can't get enough of it. They got to go hear some more of it, some more of it. And it becomes a kind of addiction. And it creates stress. And so different sounds have different effects. Everyone here, I'm sure, knows at least something about the modes of nature, the three modes of nature. And sound, according to the modes, has a different effect. So now we're going to go to other than human beings for a moment. There's plants. Note, plants don't have ears. Plants don't have brains. Plants don't have a nervous system. But plants respond to sound. So many, many, many experiments have done. And as you see from the illustration on the right, nice music makes the plants grow quickly and robustly, verdantly. And the opposite is true when they play harsh music, heavy metal music, and that kind of music. Some wilt, some die, some lean away from that where the loudspeaker is. On the other hand, this nice, they call it Gandharva music, where the plant sometimes even embraces the speaker, and the other ones lean away from the speaker. So there's many, many studies over several decades to indicate this. Now, scientists, they like to use rats for some reason because they have a nervous system and they have ears and they have a brain. Not the same as the human, but it's, similar. So they wanted to see Tokyo University. They performed a heart surgery on male mice and then played different kind of music to see how they would respond to the different kinds of music. So in that heart surgery, they injected or introduced some foreign tissue. So it was like they got, the body's got to do something to deal with this tissue. When it was nice music, then they lived longer, or the tissue that they introduced just was eliminated from the body. And the foreign tissue crippled the mice and they died, or they didn't recover, stayed quite ill, depending upon the music they heard. And then another interesting one, I don't know who came up with this one, how to test the IQ of a mouse. And the idea was they made a maze. You know what a maze is? Yeah. So they put a mouse on this end of the maze and a piece of cheese on the other end and let them go and play different music. And the ones that heard the nice classical music, they made their way quickly to the cheese. And the ones that they played the other kind, heavy rock, heavy metal, they got really bewildered. They couldn't find the cheese. And in some cases, they even turned against each other and started fighting each other, even cannibalizing each other from hearing rock music. So if you're a mouse, don't hear rock music. And if you're a human, it has its problems too. So the other kind of music is good, and the other kind of music is not good. It has a significant impact on the nervous system. This is the body, and then the emotions within the body. Now, this is the last on the impact of sound on matter. We're going to go to spiritual sound next. I don't know too much. I read a fair amount, but there's a thing called Schumann resonance. My guess is Dr. Schumann was named after him. He found that there's an electromagnetic frequency of the Earth planet, along with everything else. But minerals and this and that have their own frequency. The Earth planet has a frequency of 7.83, which happens to be the same. 7.83 happens to be the same as the meditative frequency of brain waves, or brain waves when they're in a meditative state. And therefore, it was quite natural that people, yogis, that wanted to get into a more harmonic state within the universe or within themselves, would go to the forest or quiet, serene place, not big cities, to do yoga. That's because it was a natural amplification or symbiotic relationship between their meditation effort. In all these studies, you see in the diagram, there's a bolts of lightning showing striking the Earth planet. And they've done studies that the whole Earth planet, every hour there's so many, lightning bolts that strike the Earth planet. And therefore there's electromagnetic frequency of the Earth in addition to its own frequency. So it holds this electromagnetic field, and there's a frequency to it. The lightning is okay; it's just natural. But when used properly, this Earth planet can be very helpful to get to a contemplative state. Okay, that's part one. Now here's part two, and this is what modern science has to say about spiritual sound and how spiritual sound impacts both the gross and the subtle body. And one of the celebrated spiritual sounds is mantra. I'll just share this, it's related. Some of you may know that by regular Sanskrit recitation, memory increases. Have you heard that? Many studies. Recently, during the month of Kartik, I was with a group of devotees who went to Udupi. And I met a devotee couple that I knew from years ago in Seattle. They have two boys. They're a little older than you. Not too much older, a little older. And older than you, too. And they've been studying Sanskrit. They're enrolled in a Sanskrit school without all the details. They're enrolled in a Sanskrit school. And their lights are on. They're really bright. And, they were calm. I just, that may be their nature. Some boys are a little antsy and some are very calm. They're very calm. And the parents, were very happy with what they've experienced. Of course, they're learning some academic, but a fair amount of their studies is just learning Sanskrit. And a comment was that their memory has increased noticeably, not just memorizing slokas that they say again and again, but their memory retention has increased. Let's say it the other way. When memory retention decreases, what do? You know some people, their memory Or I'm one of them. I don't remember lots of things. And people say this and that and go, really? I don't remember it at all. I need to chant more Sanskrit. But so it's besides mantra, there's just Sanskrit sound vibration, what to speak of selected Sanskrit sounds, because mantras have selected Sanskrit sounds. It has an effect of freeing the mind from material conceptions, allowing the mind to take shelter of a spiritual conception. Without a whole long Sankhya lesson, our experiences are within the mind. I was just listening today. Prabhupada was in Geneva, Switzerland, 1974 June, and he was speaking with a gentleman that had studied the Vedas, but Prabhupada was helping him understand what the Vedas say, and he was explaining that the mind is the place where we hold reality. He didn't use those words, but when we're asleep, we forget this body and we go somewhere in another body. Maybe it's flying in the sky, or maybe it's whatever it is, based on some past impression, because they're in the mind, and that becomes reality in our dream. And you forget the body lying on the bed. And when you wake up, you forget the body that you were in the dream. And there may be some lingering emotions of joy or fear or something, but they fade in the course of, because it's just within the mind. That was his point, was it's just within the mind. So man pra releases the mind from all that stuff. And when you release the mind from all that stuff, what's left? What's left is who you really are, the seat of consciousness. Because it's the seat of consciousness observing the mind. I'll say it again, because he said it 2-3 times with this professor. The seat of consciousness is observing this body and mind and the pains and pleasures, etc., the emotions within the body and the mind. We're the observer of all that. We go to sleep, the body is lying on the bed, and then there's another body that may appear in your dream, and you're off doing something, and you forget that it's all within the mind. There's impressions of something past. You can't dream of something that you haven't already experienced. It's just assimilating together something. It can be fear, it can be lust, it can be anger, it can be something. And then you wake up and it's just in your mind. And then comes this one. It's all in the mind. So what's reality? Mantra helps one get in touch with reality. Or mantra. So here's, hopefully this is going to work. This is a little recording of the chanting of Om, along with some nice soft music. And it's from the YouTube. You can find it if you want. And it's this primordial sound that before creation, during cosmic manifestation, and after annihilation, that sound is there. This primordial sound. It doesn't have a beginning, doesn't have an end. It exists before it's ever existing. And it's like the tuning fork. The tuning fork example is very appropriate because one of the PDFs that you were supposed to have received, and if you didn't, you can ask him and he'll make sure that you receive it. This sound Om is within every jiva. Om. So, like the tuning fork, there's the C tuning fork, there's the C string of the piano. Hold the tuning fork near the string of the piano that's C, and it vibrates because it's already there. It just needs to be stimulated. So this sound is within us. The eternal existence of the soul through sound is within us, and the chanting of Om revives that being in touch with it. This PDF will give a nice explanation like that. And there should be another PDF that tells you, some of you know Vishnu Sahasranam. Most of you know, probably. Those of you from India know Vishnu Sahasranam. And one of the names of Vishnu is Omkar. And there's a Baladev Vidyabhusan has made a nice commentary explaining how they're the same. Vishnu is Omkar, Omkar is Vishnu. Now, most of the teaching that we have is Om is the sound representation of, meaning it connects you with Brahman, but not with Vishnu. But of course, within Vishnu is Sat, Chit, and Ananda, or Sat and Chit. So it's within. You can read the PDF so you get the idea. You're going to see this image one more time. This is the original preceptor of our Sampradaya, Lord Brahma, receiving sound before there was creation, before there was anything to vibrate. There wasn't anything. It was just darkness in all directions. And he heard the sound of Krishna's flute. And the sound of Krishna's flute went in his ear, and it came out of his mouth in the form of Gayatri mantra. Now, there's different Gayatri mantras. There's a popular one that many people know, Brahma Gayatri. What came out of his mouth was an 18-syllable mantra, different mantra. So here's this cymatics again. I mentioned, you'll see it more than once. This gentleman in this photograph is from the 1970s. His name was Hans Jenny. Hans Jenny was from Switzerland, and he invented a machine. You can see from the photo, it's pretty old style. It has three parts. One, generates a sound. Two, it channels the sound from the generating entity or machine to some surface, a channel, direct the sound. The third is a vibrating surface with some powder on it. And he tried different surfaces, sometimes membranes, sometimes crystal, sometimes this, sometimes that, to see if there'd be a different effect. And then by making that sound, because the one we saw was somebody making a motion of an instrument vibrating a table, but he had the sound coming from outside, affecting the powder on the surface, or the salt, or some other light materials. And he found material sound, same thing, cymatics. It makes a two-dimensional shape. So he was curious. You might be curious too. What happens when you direct Om to that vibrating surface? Nice question. And the picture that you see on the right side, that's a photograph of what happened. And what's on the left side is a drawing. That is a drawing, the two-dimensional depiction called a Sri Yantra. Sri Yantra is Vaikuntha planet, or the Vaikuntha realm, in a two-dimensional depiction. Here's a photograph of what Dr. Hans Jenny generated, Swiss engineer and MD. So it's symmetrical. Here's that's the syllable Om. This next one is the 18-syllable mantra. Not giving it a name, it's just called the 18-syllable mantra, but there's a name for it. And that's what that looks like. Different, but similar. That is, spiritual sound has form. We've heard that before, right? The sound of Krishna is Krishna. And Krishna has form. The sound has form. The sound is form. We're just not in tune so much. We're distracted by matter and material desires, the subtle and the gross stuff. Here's that image again on the right side. It shows Lord Brahma on top of a lotus flower, hearing the sound of Krishna's flute. If you want to look it up, you can look it up. It's Brahma Samhita, text number 3. And from hearing this sound, along with meditating on the yantra, which is the two-dimensional depiction of that sound, whoops, that's what it looks like. Now, in the middle is the syllable kleem instead of om, because that's how the mantra starts. And then there's 6 side, or it's called the hexagonal mantra. If you read Sanskrit, you can see what it says. And that's the mantra in a two-dimensional depiction. So you read carefully. Please read carefully Prabhupada's books and the scriptures. In addition to chanting mantra, he meditated with the use of this yantra. And the combination of the two, he realized the ocean of truth. He became well acquainted with the ocean of truth just by this sound and this yantra. Here's another depiction, two-dimensional picture of the shape of musical notes. Now, musical notes in the West is its own style. And here is a depiction from the ancient texts depicting the universe and the shape of the universe. As we heard scientists say, sound has shaped the universe. The Vedas also say sound moves with symmetry. Material and spiritual sound has form, and it can be depicted in a two-dimensional yantra. Some of you are a little bit familiar with cosmology, 5th canto. So notice in the middle, there's this, right in the center is Mount Sumeru. And notice around Mount Sumeru, there's 7 islands and 7 oceans in between those islands, etc., etc. This is a diagram of Vedic cosmology, our universe, or a universe. And then there's things around it, etc., 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 depicted in this yantra. Universe has its sacred geometry also. Remember the title of our weekend together, Sacred Sounds. A little bit more about music, and then we'll move on to another topic. Raga. Probably everybody has heard the word raga. Anyone from India has heard the word raga. What is it? It's a science of music. And the science of music, let's say those of us that attend Mangalarti, we sing in the raga of the morning. Yes? Na samsaratava nalalida loka Pranayakadana gana ganatvam. It's a raga, it's a morning raga. And then the same song could be sung midday, but you use a different raga. You've noticed? Sometimes we have the celebration on the disappearance day of a great authority. And it's sung midday, so we use same words, but a different raga because it's sympathetic with that particular time of day. And then there's an evening raga. The Gora Arti is a different raga. Anyway, it's just some details about. We already are involved in raga, we just don't know the details of it. Some people know the details of it. People that know the details of it know that there's a presiding deity of each raga. And there's a mantra that is the mantra that depicts the form of that presiding deity of the raga. And the people are really, really expert. They recite the mantra of the presiding deity of that raga and then the music of the raga. And persons who have the receivers on that know the science of it, they can visualize the personality of the raga through the mantra and the raga. For example, painting that's on the left side is Pingala raga, And Pingala Raga indicates Radha and Krishna on a swing. So there's art. It's not just, that geometric pattern. It's the presiding deity of that raga, Radha and Krishna on a swing. Now, I don't know the science, but there are people that know the science and people that are acute in hearing. I'm just going to share one thing. I received a little note today. Um, yes, today. It was in relation to Prabhupada's disappearance yesterday. And in relation to Srila Prabhupada's disappearance yesterday, there was a little short paragraphs from Revati Raman. Some of you know Revati Raman. You're from South India. You know Revati Raman. He's BBC for that part of India. So he tells the story, as you may know, it's in Tirupati. That's where his base is. They built the Tirupati temple just through book distribution. They had a very nice relationship with the TTD, and they gave them permission to have bookstalls up and down, Tirupati. In fact, they were so good at book sales that TTD said, "Why don't you take charge of our Luglu distribution? Because you're so good at it." So he did, and their revenues increased so much because the devotees are just well organized and very devoted. So there, at one of the bookstalls, this is a story from Revati Raman. One man, I forget his name. Um, you can look it up on your mobile phone because I sent you the text. There was one man who was a celebrity in Carnatic music. I've forgotten his name. And could you hear the name? You've heard the name. Celebrity. Kartak Kathak music celebrity. So he was while they had the book table set up on the hill at Tirupati, he was standing there mesmerized. And the person at the book table thought he didn't know who he was. His man was looking for an opportunity to steal. So he went and confronted him. And then another devotee recognized him, said, "No, no, no. He's a gentleman. Don't speak with him that way. Please apologize profusely." So he did. And the man was like a statue. He was just stunned. And he made some comment to the effect that this voice of this person who it was Prabhupada Bhajan singing, he's from another world. I mean, this is a man that's refined in sound and voice. And that was his appraisal. I mean, anyway, sound vibration from a pure devotee has special effect. Okay, moving on. You recognize what's on the right side is DNA strands. So after some time, they found DNA strands are throughout the whole body. Then they studied it more and more. And one lady discovered that there's something attached to DNA. It's called telomeres. I'm not a DNA specialist, but I read about it. And after they found out that there's telomeres, they wanted to know, what do telomeres do? Telomeres, when they're healthy and robust, they do two things. They ward off disease, or they keep you healthy, and it extends the duration of life. So I thought, wow, how to build good telomeres. So the lady that found this discovery, she found out that if you exercise vigorously for 10, 12 minutes, then it became very popular, up to 5% your telomeres increase. So you probably know it's a thing. It's a fad, or it's a medical piece of advice. Do regular exercise, minimum 10, 12 minutes a day, and it strengthens your telomeres. So then they wanted to find out where some of the other things. Some of the other things were your diet. Wholesome diet strengthens your telomeres. And then they found that having gatherings, social gatherings that are warm and friendly and loving, strengthens your telomeres up to 5%. And much to their surprise, mantra meditation increased telomeres by 43%. No surprise, because yogis generally are very healthy and live a long life. So, Prabhus, you want to stay healthy and live a long life? You know what to do. Make your telomeres strong. Do the other things too, but do substantial mantra meditation. They found other things are also helpful, prayer, meaningful prayer, etc., etc. Okay, moving on. Here's, um, I think I'm going to end with this because of time, and see if there's some discussion. There's more. I want to do one more thing. So here's quickly a devotee, an ISKCON devotee, was enrolled in a PhD program at University of Florida in Gainesville, and he decided to do his PhD thesis on the effect of sound on these three things: stress, depression, and addiction. And specifically wanted to test the effect of the Hare Krishna mantra compared to other sounds. So now, those of you that have done PhD studies, you know you can't just wing it. You've got a whole bunch of other PhD fellows that are looking at your proposal, and they're watching every step you make, and they look at your data, and they have to approve it all. So there's like, it's not, it's not lightweight. So they approved his plan, and it went like this. In the Gator Press, the school paper, an ad. The ad said, if you help me with my PhD thesis, you'll get $30 for doing this work, and it'll take you a few months, some amount of time every day. So when people signed up to be candidates, the interview purpose was they'll actually do it, and they'll report honestly, because it's all subjective. And then they got their candidates, and they told them all the same thing. You have a mantra that is very ancient mantra, and it does these three things. So we want you every day, whatever the time was, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something, and chant the mantra early in the morning. And then over time, over the next few months, we'll interview you, and you tell how's it going in these three categories. Same thing to everybody. And then one group was the Hare Krishna mantra group. Another group was another Vedic mantra, and another group was a placebo group, meaning just gobbledygook syllables they just made up, and it didn't mean anything, didn't come from any place, but they told them all the same thing. So they didn't have to have faith, $30 for a few months. It's not they wanted some money. These are college kids, but they wanted to help somebody, and so that was, you didn't have to believe anything, just help him with his PhD thesis. So at the end, all the data looked at by all the professors and PhD holders found that of the three groups, it's the Hare Krishna mantra was most effective in these three areas. And then he made, some recommendations for further research, which he didn't do, based on the data that he gathered. So there is something special about the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, in short. Besides, your telomeres get stronger. Now there's a bunch of nice things, but time doesn't permit, so I'm gonna go to this slide that you'll see tomorrow, I think. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 21. This means this is Krishna speaking to Uddhava. It's Uddhava Gita, a very powerful section of the Bhagavatam. And I'll just explain what the diagram shows. On the left side, there's ear, mind and intelligence, and then at the bottom it says transcendental consciousness. That means the soul. So there's material sound that's over on the right side. There's external sound, and with sound, information is carried. I skipped a section, but that's okay. One of the things with sound, it does several things, but it conveys an idea, like words, whatever, without elaborating. Sound carries an idea of something. It's one of the things that sound does. So when you hear a sound, it goes through this channel. It hits the ear. There's a nice Sanskrit word, like kari. And then it goes to the mind. Its mind is like a switchboard. Data comes into the mind. And so the mind hears the sound. It goes through the eardrum, nervous system, registers in the mind. So the mind says, I hear a sound. But the ear heard the sound. And then the intelligence is assessing, what's that sound? Is it this? Is it that? So it's the discriminating factor, discerning this from that. That's what intelligence is and what it does. And material sound stops there. Whether it's mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, it stops there. Spiritual sound, however, keeps going, called para sound, and it goes directly to the soul. Looking around the room, usually in temples they have plants. I don't see any plants. I see a fake plant over there, but not a real one. So supposing we have, supposing there's a plant in the room, in a temple room somewhere. It's hearing the sound. We're hearing the sound. The soul that's within that plant is getting spiritual benefit. We're gonna cover this tomorrow or the next day, tomorrow. And spiritual sound acts on the platform of the soul. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to know its meaning. You don't have to have faith. You don't have to. There's no preconditions. You just have to be a soul. That's pretty much every one of us. We're embodied souls. It goes directly to the soul level. It's like the tuning fork. You got it. Persons are nodding. And so that spiritual sound is animating what's already there. Because that spiritual sound and the soul are the same, or the same frequency, the same quality. And the soul becomes awakened and enlivened. Spiritual benefit goes to the plant, or the insect, or the whatever it is, just by hearing that sound. We'll see this chart again as we go on. So when we're engaged in mantra meditation, it's not one way, it's two way. That is, the sound, we vibrate the sound. And that sound is not different than Krishna. But it's not just Krishna as a blob or a non-personal entity. Krishna is a person, and there's a reciprocation through the medium of sound. It's a relationship through sound, through the medium of sound. Now, the sound is Krishna. At the same time, there's the personal form of Krishna in the spiritual realm, and that's being reciprocated with also. Quickly, we're entangled in material sound, and it's very, very, very messy. Due to entanglement in material affairs, due to material sound, it's very messy. But here's the last slide I'm going to show you. This material sound is but a reflection of that which is primordial. The image is meant to show that. There you see a full moon, and in the lake, you see a reflection of the full moon. It's meant to show that material sound is a reflection of spiritual sound. That is, everything comes from one source. And spiritual sound is the original, and this is a reflection of the original. Material sound included, material objects, material everything, material emotion, material everything comes from a source. This is the reflection of that source, and the origin is sound. And so material sounds are simply a reflection of the origin of material spiritual sound. Here's some texts. I'll read it. Whenever you hear some sound, this is a Bhagavad Gita class, 1966, Prabhupada in 26 Second Avenue. You should know, quote, this is vibration of the transcendental sound. It's just some sound. The sound which we are vibrating, that is pure spiritual sound. So any sound in the material world, that is reflection of that spiritual sound. So when you hear sound, you can remember God. Now that's an elevated state of consciousness, but Prabhupada is speaking this in 1966 to people that know nothing about nothing. Just at his feet, hearing transcendental messages. Therefore, the more we can directly give oral reception to spiritual sound, coverings are removed and our spiritual consciousness becomes awakened, just like the tuning fork example. That it's already there, it just needs to be resonated by spiritual sound. The spiritual sound is already there, and the sound of the mantra resonates. And it's a mystery in one sense. It's very sensible in another sense. But we've forgotten, and so it's like, does it really work? And things like that. So that's a warm up for our Japa retreat activities. It's 5 minutes, 6 minutes to 8 o'clock. This evening we can take some questions until 8 o'clock. Nice topic, isn't it? Thought provoking. You four guys in the front, fantastic. 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 I mean, I'm not used to persons your age sitting there so peacefully instead of being fidgety and etc. Fantastic. May you all grow to be wonderful Vaishnavas. Just through sound. Okay. Comments or questions? Yes. Back in the back. Go ahead. Just try it. You got it.
Hare Krishna
You're on.
Maharaj. Hare Krishna. And wonderful the material and explanation and so on. So the question is like when we chant mantra, Maha Mantra, like is that like different way we chant affects has a different effect, the different way, like sometimes we chant high, sometimes we chant low with different speeds. Does it have any impact? Or the sound has like a, I mean, the mantra has like same impact, doesn't matter how we chant.
My fundamental, I'm not absolutely sure of my answer. My fundamental understanding is the pitch doesn't matter. The vibration itself is transcendental. Therefore, the most important part is your attentiveness to the sound, not the pitch or the pace. It's your attentiveness to the sound because it's transcendental. even pronunciation isn't imperative because it's about a relationship, and Krishna knows you're calling him and he's reciprocating. Now, learning proper pronunciation and so forth and so on. But sometimes I've heard people chanting the mantra, and they're more. It seems to me they're more absorbed in the musicality of the mantra than they're even as they're chanting japa, not even kirtan. They're kind of the musicality is absorbing their attention. It seems to me. So the most important thing is whatever works, that whatever frequency, pitch, etc. Attentiveness, please. The sound and hearing the sound. We're going to hear some more about this as we go forward.
Thank you, Maharaj.
In front.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. My question is regarding the mantra Om. So you mentioned that Om is the primordial sound and it is also there within us. And Krishna also says that he is Omkar.
Yes.
So how do we connect that with Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Or in other words, why don't we just chant Om, and why there is importance for
because the form is not so distinguished in the chanting of Om. It's a representation of, in comparison to the spiritual form of Krishna, which is his name, which is in his name and is his name. It's the sound representation. It's like, I mean, to put it in common language, hey. So you may get somebody's attention, but you say their name. Hey, Prabhu. Or hey, what's your name? Abhijit? Abhay. Hey, Abhay. It's a little different than just saying, hey. I mean, he's a nice young man, so he's happy if I just say, hey. But if I say, hey, Abhay, it's more personal. The sound representation and the person, there's a non-difference, and there's a difference if it's simply the sound vibration, the sound representation, as opposed to the personal feature, and therefore the name.
Thank you, Maharaj.
They have the same spiritual quality, but more complete, less complete. Okay. We'll end there. Look at, we just went kind of under the wire. It's 8:00. So my understanding is, because of the way the schedule was written, we didn't yet conduct Damodarastakam. So some persons, I think, would like to offer a lamp to Damodar. Are there arrangements for that set up? Just now or what? When the curtain opens. There's Damodar. Yeah, let's do that. So Damodarastakam, somebody once gets the harmonium or do the singing part? Who's the singer of the Damodarastakam?
Who's scheduled for today?
You're volunteering? You know the Damodarastakam song? Yes? Okay. Get ready. Bring her the microphone. Bring her the microphone. Here's a microphone. There's lamps over there.
He's getting enough. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupa Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamata Yashodabiyalukaladabam Paramishtamatyantat Padutta Gopya Yashodabiyalukaladabam Gopya Tamuhane Yugmam Kanta kanta Sitagre Bhaktamodvar Bhakti Bhada Tidriksvalila Prananda Kute Swago Shamni Majanta Makya Payanta Tidriksvalila Pradesitagneshu Bhakta Jitatva Prematastam Satra Prithivanke Parameva Moksha Gacchati Amari Sadatiya Idam Deva Purana Kubaravana Sagame Manasya Virashtam Kimanye Dam Te Mukha Bocha Madhyanta Nilo Vetam Kuntalaisikaratasya Gopya Vetam Mushumbitam Bimbarakadaramye Manasya Virashtam Malam Lakshanabhe Namo Deva Damodara Vishnu Rasita Prabhu Kajala Vimana Vipodrishti Vijati Dinambakana Grahanesha Mama Game Dyakshideshya Veramajobata Mrite Vayadvat Prayamuchita Bhakti Bhajakrita Cha Pada Prema Bhaktim Swakame Prayacha Namukshigra Mesti Tvamodareha Namaste Sudame Spuraditi Dami Vishwasadame Namaste Sudame Namo Nakalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namo Nakalilaya Namo Nakalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Sikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nakalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Namamishwaram Sachidanandvarupam Yatsatmandalam Jagore Brajavaram Yashodhabhimanukaragamana Param Krishnamatyanta Kodata Gopya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jai Jai Gurudev, 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 Jai 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 Gaurari Bo, Gaurari Bo, Gaurari Bo, Jai Gaurari Bo. আমাদের অষ্টকম কি